welcome back on this Thursday morning to the morning show. I'm Marshall Shore.
And I'm Melissa Farley. Thanks for joining us at...
Well, the Arizona. I was like,
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Where are we at? We're at the Arizona Center.
We are home at the Arizona Center, our new studio home, which we love and are so grateful to be here. We are also so grateful to have another guest with us today. We have Chef Derek Upton with us.
Not just any guest. We have
the chef. I know, that's
there's so
true.
much talent in Phoenix. So there's so much talent in Phoenix. I appreciate you guys for letting me be here.
So, Chef, obviously we know who you are, but for those that may not, tell us about you. What are you all about here?
Well, I'm Chef Derek Upton, 38. I'm originally from Fresno, California. I've been in Arizona about 15 years. I'm a professional private chef. I work with celebrities and pro athletes. Some people might have seen me on Netflix and Food Network. I kind of also work in a niche market of cannabis, providing education and high-end food with the infusion of cannabis. And the education is the most important thing there. But I also do a lot of catering, a lot of meal prep, and just a lot of interesting events and immersive culinary experiences. And I just love bringing people together over food and cooking for people and being creative.
I love that. My mind went to like 17 different places to ask you questions.
So how did you get started?
So that's a situation in itself, but I've always believed in cannabis and the medicinal properties of cannabis. I've always believed that there was something more to it than what we were being told, and so that kind of led me down the road of creating edibles for my friends, doing dinner parties that I wasn't supposed to do with cannabis long before it was ever legal. But I think those are the limits we have to push to kind of create new boundaries and new things, right? And so that kind of led me into going, man, when I use cannabis, it's really helping my depression, it's really helping my ADHD, and I feel way better than Ritalin or Adderall ever made me feel. And so that's kind of what led me down, going like, what could this be? What could we elevate this to? No pun intended, right? What could we elevate this to make it more mainstream and less taboo? And so like it just, it was really me just breaking some boundaries and doing dinner parties and getting people to understand that there was education that made sense. And that's really what led me into it. And then, I put a lot of content out, as a lot of you guys might know. And so Instagram, was my jumping off point, and Netflix reached out to me, and it was that's how it kind of became more of a mainstream thing for me, and kind of how I got known as like the cannabis chef for Southwest, and which led to all different types of opportunities for me, which were
I was just going to say,
grateful.
You keep dropping Netflix like super cash. Tell people what happened.
I'm incredibly humble about it, but I'm grateful for it, because it can be taken from me at any moment. And so I'm grateful that I was able to do it. I'm grateful that I was able to reach people through that platform and be able to just do my thing as a chef. And that authenticity, created a movement of people going, man, there could be something more to it. And so, I drop it casually because, again, there's a lot of talent out there, and I'm just the lucky one that was in the right place at the right time. But I'm glad that I was able to do it, and it's changed my life. It's changed other people's lives, and I've got to meet some amazing people and do some amazing things like this,
So I'm curious, this is kind of new for me. We actually had another guest on a couple months ago, Chris Martin with Hempful Farms.
One of my best friends. I love that guy.
Yeah, and my dad is in a lot of chronic pain, and so this was the first time that talking with Chris, I was like, oh, there's other things we could be trying for him.
Chris has changed people's lives in a real way.
Right? Yeah,
in a real way that the media does not show, and that's why me and Chris are so close, and I love that dude to death. And he has mentored me as a chef and as a cannabis chef, and a lot of his cultural ideas on helping people align with me as a hospitality professional. And so it just made sense. Taking care of people is what I do. Cooking is just an outcome of that, And so cannabis is really changing people's lives, but it has to be accepted in a different way.
Right.
You have to let go of the old ideologies that you're attached to and accept something new that could still be truth, And that's what we're trying to do with cannabis, at least.
That's what I think is so cool, because you guys are kind of pioneers in this industry. I can't imagine how difficult it is to keep having these conversations to try to change the perception.
I think that's what it takes, though. Like everything else we've had to overcome as a human society, we've had to break down those walls, sometimes physically and metaphorically, right? continuously to get people to understand. It took how many years to get to this point with cannabis,
Right.
right? And so I think that, yeah, we are pioneers. I think someone had to do it. You know, someone had to create another revolutionary tea party, right? We had to do another alcohol, prohibition, right? So I think that's where we're at. We're in that same type of vibe, but modernized, Now we're doing it with a lot more resources and science to back up what we're trying to do because it's real,
So I'm going to ask a real basic question
Yeah,
for
please
all
do
the
it.
fellow noobs like me out there. So I've never actually still eaten food that's
Okay.
infused with cannabis. Does it impact the flavor? Like, can you
It does.
taste it?
So what I do, and I look at cannabis much like you're going to pair wine.
Okay.
Right? So there's a lot of flavor profiles and tannins that you're looking at, and terpene profiles. You've smelled terpenes, if you smell rosemary, if you smelled lemon. All of those are linalool and myceline. There we go. They're terpene profiles that give you the scent, but also what they do is they psychoactively affect your brain. And so that's what gives you the up and the down, the indica and the sativa vibes, is all about the protein or the terpene profiles that are affect your endocannabinoid system, right? And so we're designed to receive those things within certain limits. And so it does affect it. You can manipulate the flavor as well. And you can also add what I call synthetic terpenes, which are like rosemary, right? And straight lemon, right? Not necessarily cannabis derived. But you can change and create a whole different kind of playground of experiences through multiple courses with food, also pairing it with smokables.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also
So-
do mocktails too. So
Okay,
no
'cause I don't
alcohol.
drink.
No, I don't drink
Typically,
either.
yeah.
So but you can do mocktails that will give you the idea of having a cocktail hour, right? But without the alcohol effects. And then there's also science that goes into dosing and making sure that you're getting a certain amount of milligram per adult. And so that's all things that I teach at my dinners and I educate people on so they understand that I'm not just throwing weed in there and going, hey, have fun,
There's a science to this.
There's a
Yeah.
science.
That's cool. That's really cool. So what are you most excited about next for you?
Honestly, I'm always the one that is trying to push new envelopes, not only for myself, because the only person I'm ever in competition with is myself, right? And so I'm always looking to what's next for me. Like, where can I go to have the most impact? And I believe that what is for me will find me. And that goes with everything in my life, And I lead with love, and that brings me opportunities. And I lead with what I know is right, and that brings me opportunities. So I'm excited for 2025. Right now, I've kind of taken a break on booking a bunch of things. I've had a lot going on this year, and I just needed me time. I needed to take some time and just kind of you know what, Derek?
I applaud that.
I'm approaching 40. And I want to know what is Derek going to do for the next 20 years, 10 years. And so I'm kind of just reflecting on that right now. I've been blessed enough to be able to do that in the last couple months, and so I'm really taking that time. But there's definitely going to be some things in the works. I might be some collaborations that might be happening, some things I can't really name yet. But I definitely have some irons in the fire for sure.
That's great.
But there's always exciting things happening. I'm always trying to lift people up. So be on the lookout. Make sure you're following me.
I love that you're listening to yourself and taking that time.
Took a long time.
Yeah, I think. Well, it's hard when you have this momentum and
Yeah.
you've built this big thing. It's hard to kind of step back and do it, but so
Right.
important.
And I struggle with ADHD, and it's a real thing in my life. And I have adult autism as well. It's something I found out a couple of years ago. And so that has been something that I've been fighting with, but at the same time, trying to figure out, okay, how do I structure my life differently?
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's changed my priorities, and that's changed how I look at things. And so it's been great, but it's been hard. Because
Yeah.
being truthful with yourself like that is one of the hardest things you've ever had to do. At
Absolutely.
least I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
But the best.
Yeah.
Because I am 10 times the man I was, and I'm proud of that. So, taking time for yourself is huge. Reflection is huge, because knowing where you're at allows you to know where you want to go.
Absolutely.
And I believe in that. So.
Well, you're
What-
such an inspiration
Oh, I
for so many
appreciate that.
reasons.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and I like what you said about like a wine and pairing and things like that. I mean, I remember it's my grandfather was like, "Oh, I can't have wine," oh, and it was like, oh, my doctor says I must have wine.
Right,
So he would have his ceremonial, like 1 glass of wine a day, and he would let you know his doctor said he had to do this.
Right.
And so, and I think you're battling kind of that history of now with cannabis and things like that. So
you'd be surprised how many medical professionals, like high-level medical professionals I cook for as a private chef in the cannabis space, that believe exactly how I believe, that understand that this is where it's going, and they do it, professionally. They do it, responsibly. But it's starting to become a thing in people because people don't want to get drunk. Let's be real. I don't want to get drunk. I haven't drank in 6 years because I hate the way alcohol makes me feel afterwards. I hate it. And a lot of people are feeling that way.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to take some time. I think it's going to die out for a little bit because people are used to it.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be something that really sticks around in personal homes as a way of healing.
Well, we've noticed actually a trend in the event space because I throw a couple big events a year, and alcohol sales have gone way down. Interest in people getting alcohol when we provide them, with the vendors there, like it's just changing. So
when I helped open up the Clarendon Hotel to cannabis, and we turned the Clarendon Hotel to a cannabis hotel, we had 350, 400 people on the rooftop when we did cannabis events. Marshall was a part of a couple of those, and so people are gravitating toward that because at the core of it all, it's just about connecting with other humans in a different way that is peaceful and not crazy and not going to come with drama. And I think people just truly, really want that peace in their lives, and cannabis is a part of that culture. So I think that's why people are seeing a trend.
Well, speaking of connecting with people,
exactly.
How do people connect with you? And can regular folks do a dinner with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or how does that work?
I'm a professional private chef. I offer awful services. I offer professional services for catering, private chef work in your home, event spaces, meal prep. You can get me at chefderekaz.com or on Instagram at chefderekaz. Message me, email me. I'm always around. I'll always email you back within a short time. But yeah, I book with normal people. I book with everybody. everyone is welcome at my table for sure. I like to cook for everybody. So
indeed, and thank you so much for coming on and sharing your passion.
I appreciate you so much.
And same thing.
Yeah.
That was the fun thing of going to some of these dinners and hearing people talk about what this has done with their lives and made them more productive and able to function.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in an environment that's safer than actually say, here's what's going on in
And
my
people
life.
with real medical issues are getting real relief and having normal functioning lives,
right?
Which is really why I do this.
Yeah.
So.
And can I just say, you are so grounding and making me peaceful.
Thank you.
I've seen you on social media. We've never actually met in person, but it just feels lovely sitting next to you. It's
I appreciate that. I really
nice.
work hard on that because I want people to feel comfortable with me, especially when I'm in their home cooking. But just in general, I've just been that guy. I want to lead with love. That's just who I am, because I think that's going to be what is going to take everyone to where they need to be, man. All the pieces are going to fall in place when you do that. So.
Well, you can feel it. It
Thank
comes
you.
off.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And please, I hope you'll come back.
Please, I would love to.
And kind of share some of the things that you're working on, kind of what's coming up
Marshall
for you.
just really wants food.
Yeah, I would love to cook for you. Cook for the whole studio.
Yeah, we would love to have you back. And also, keep in mind, Marshall and I are going to be launching our newsletter. We're going to do a feature for sure on Chef here. So you'll be able to learn more and connect with him directly through the newsletter. So stay tuned for that. We're going to take a quick break and be right back after this for more good stuff on The Morning Show.